Hello, and welcome back to our playthrough of Escape Velocity Nova. Today we're going to be finishing up the Wild Geese storyline. When we last left off, we had just blown up part of McGowan's drug-producing facilities here on Porto Rilla, and we were just about to head back to New Ireland for further orders. Now, there isn't much in this storyline left to do, so hopefully we can get this wrapped up in relatively short order, and enjoy some of the benefits that comes with being a Knight of the Red Branch. So we're just going to zip down here to the Tautha system and land on New Ireland. Pretty straightforward. Him and Flanagan is, of course, as always, cruising around the system in his mod Starbridge. Alright, so as soon as we land, we're met with the message that we saw your handiwork on the news. Flanagan smiles as he meets you at the hatch. I especially liked the bit when the authorities tried to take credit for the destruction of a large shipment of drugs and breaking the smuggling ring. The funny thing about crooked cops is something too big happens, they take down everybody, get promotions and medals, and sleep well at night knowing that they have heaps of cash and still have done their jobs. Flanagan shakes his head, and you wonder just how the police and security forces were tipped off. Go and get some rest in a real bed, he finishes with a warm smile. And take some time to wind down. The next stage of the operation is going to be tricky, so I'll need some time to set it up. That's a complete fabrication because as soon as we press the B key to go to the bar, we immediately get the next link in the chain. So, you're sitting down, enjoying a drink when you see Eamon, Flanagan, and Micheline walk in, both looking grim. We need you to go into the dragon's lair, says Flanagan without preamble once they make their way over. From what intelligence I've been able to gather, the guild that McGowan's is in charge of is a little more capable than we thought they were. They have ties with the Bureau, and some of their equipment could have only come from them. I'm going to be sending you to make a peace proposal, Flanagan says, showing you a data cube, and holding up his other hand to forestall your protests. We do not have the manpower to defeat them, and if we do get dragged into a war with them, we will probably be blindsided by the Federation through their ties with the Bureau. We have to hurt them, Flanagan notes quietly, and hopefully we can negotiate a truce without further incident. If I can get McGowan to see that the cost to his damned guild of so-called associated traitors would also be detrimental to their purposes of amassing wealth. Are you prepared to risk your life to be our envoy? He asks quietly. Yeah, of course we are. Thank you, Iceman, states Flanagan evenly. We owe you more than you know. McGowan's headquarters are on a station called Harbor in the Seychelles system to the galactic north of the Federation. Good luck. With that, he turns on his heel and heads out of the bar, leaving Micheline behind. I'll be thanking you as well, Micheline grins shamelessly. If you had refused, it would have been me going. And I know that McGowan holds me in no high regard, since it was me that caused this whole thing. Anyway, I'd best be catching up to Flanagan, or else have me back in training again. With a wink and a saucy grin, Micheline heads off after Flanagan. So there we go. This is the second of the random events we need to go our way for this to be successful. And the Seychelles system is all the way up here next to the Rebel systems. Thankfully, we can get up to the Rebel systems just by using the hypergates, and that's exactly what we're going to do. It's going to turn, 8 or so jumps into 2 quick hyperspace jumps, or hypergate jumps, and then a couple quick jumps over to Seychelles. Seychelles? I think it's Seychelles. I don't think it's supposed to be pronounced like shoal or whatever. Oh, it could be, though. I do not know what the exact inspiration for it is, but it is neat having the pirate systems. That one and the houseless system down in Auroran space. Maybe it's Shield. That could be it. But regardless of what it's called, this part is fairly simple. All we have to do is land on the station. The station doesn't like that though, and is firing ion bolts at us. But regardless, almost before you land, someone has picked the lock on your hatch, and in minutes a small group of men carrying all sorts of weapons have stormed into your cockpit and taken you prisoner. They carry you through the spaceport to a set of offices just off the main structure of the spaceport, and throw you into what appears to be a conference room of sorts. Inside, you see seated in a plain yet obviously comfortable chair, a man slightly more than medium height and of slim build. There is something almost hauntingly familiar about the man, but you cannot put your finger on it. My information is correct, Captain Iceman, he begins pleasantly. You have recently come from a planet called New Ireland in the Tautha system. Now, as I am sure you have guessed by now, my name is McGowan, and, at the moment, as Guild Master of the Associated Guild of Free Traders, I am not terribly impressed with the group of people known as the Wild Geese, that hail from that area of space. Now tell me, why should I allow you to leave this station alive? You take a few moments to tell McGowan of your most recent meeting with Flanagan, and of the data cube containing his peace proposal. When you have finished speaking, McGowan stares at you for several moments. Maybe in the bar in a couple hours. He dismisses you indifferently. His urbane manner sends shivers of something akin to recognition down your spine. By then, I will have made my decision regarding this truce. With a small wave of his hand, his muscular henchmen grab you and turf you back out into the spaceport. With a few muttered curses, you decide that discretion would probably be the better part of valor in this case, and you head off to find the local bar, wondering what it is about that man that seems so familiar. So, true to his word, we actually do have to go to the bar to trigger this next step. I actually recommend that you land off, or take off and land again. That way, if you do not get the result you want, and you don't have any qualms about manipulating the game a little bit, you can just force quit the game and reload. Alright, so let's go to the bar and see what McGowan's response is going to be. So this is, in fact, the response we were looking for. So, as you sit, drink in hand, wondering what it is about McGowan that bothers you, an expectant hush falls over the bar, and you look around to see McGowan and a number of his bully boys have walked into the bar. Noting you sitting near the rear, they make their way over. As soon as McGowan sits down, his bully boys set upon you. You desperately try to defend yourself, but there are simply too many of them for you to do anything effective. Possibly only 2 or 3 minutes later, the beating abates, and one of the thugs lifts you off the floor to face McGowan. I've accepted Mr. Flanagan's proposal, he says, unperturbed by your condition. I will no longer launch operations against the Wild Geese, if they do not launch against us. As for you, I am warning you never to return to this place whilst I am alive. I don't know what it is, but there is something offensive about you. I will not tolerate your presence any more than I already have. With that, he gets up and starts walking out of the bar. The man holding you drops you to the ground, and you remain there, unmoving, for some time before levering yourself up. Not a single person in the bar makes eye contact with you as you leave this establishment. So, Harbor is a pretty nasty place if you couldn't tell. We'll read the little blurb about the bar here, just for fun. You walk into a menacingly dark and smoky, yet surprisingly clean establishment. A small jazz band plays classy numbers on the stage, making you just enough noises to cover any conversations going on. You noticed 6 dangerously well-dressed men sitting at a table on a balcony quietly overlooking the club. And we'll also read the Harbor blurb, because you don't get to go to Harbor all that often. This is kind of one of 3 I can think of, 3 occasions where you actually get to go here. There's this storyline, there's the Bounty Hunter storyline, and there's the Pirate storyline. Other than that, I don't think you have reason to go to Harbor in any of the other ones. Actually, maybe the Federation storyline, but regardless. This is the home of the Associated Guild of Free Traders. These merchants are better known throughout the galaxy as pirates. This is a surprisingly well-run station, but you should keep an eye out, as those who break the very strict code of conduct can find themselves in deep trouble very quickly. One step outside the code, and you are fair game for everybody. You are best off saying and doing nothing. So there you go. This is also the other station in the game that uses the particular sprite, or particular model. The only other one that I can think of that does is down in the... what is it called? In this system. It's an abandoned station that was used for mining and got decommissioned. I believe these 2 are the only systems that use this particular model for the station, and this is the only one that uses this particular vignette. Also, what's worthy of note is that if for whatever reason you want to bring a trade goods here, everything sells for high. It even has its own special trade good, which is stuffed nup-nups. I'm not sure where you buy these other than here, but apparently if you have them, you can sell them for the highest price you can get. Also notable is it's a great place to buy pirate ships, go figure. Personally, though, I'd recommend capturing pirate ships instead of buying them, because it gives you access to some of the better variants of them that you can't just buy, most notably the Type 4 Pirate Valkyrie. And there are a fair number of interesting pieces of equipment you can pick up. Most notably, I think, is the ion cannon. Normally you can't buy that without a Federation license, but here you can pick up an illicit version of it. You just have to be wary of Federation scans. But if you are doing a storyline where you already can't get scanned by the Federation, such as the pirate storyline or the Auroran storyline, that's not as much of a hindrance or a deterrent, so feel free to pick one up at Harbor. Alright, so we're going to touch down here just to be safe. Good old Rebel 2. And it should be easy enough to zip back down and see what Flanagan has to say. Nurse Secundus is the closest system with a hypergate to Tautha. I'm sure I'm probably pronouncing Tautha wrong, but I don't know enough. Oh my! You don't usually see pirates hanging out in this system. That's interesting. Well, at least we'll get to see the Wild Geese come in and help us take care of him. We're going to go in on this Manticore, I think, just for fun. So we're going to turn down to 1x speed here, and we're going to zip around and try to strafe him. We're going to take some damage from that ion cannon he has, and unfortunately, when paired up against our Thunderhead Lance, the ion cannon is the more formidable of the two. So I think that's not a fight we win. However, the Wild Geese are going to be taking care of this for us. Oh, provided I don't get hit by those nasty missiles. Although I should do them a favor, I guess. So let's go. Oof, that was a close one. Strafe this guy too. There we go. Disabled that. Where's Eamon? Oh, they left. Gee. Or he got blown up. Either way, it doesn't actually affect anything if his ship gets blown up. So, when you return, your bruises are nearly all healed, and most of the aches and pains are gone. Flanagan receives the news that McGowan has accepted his proposal stoically, and mutters something about keeping an eye on the bastard to make sure he is actually abiding by his word. Within minutes, word has gotten out of your bravery in meeting with McGowan, and, in typical Whirlwind fashion, McLean has grabbed you and dragged you off, only partially against your will, down to the pub. There is much singing and dancing, and before too long, you catch yourself smiling and enjoying yourself. At one point, Eamon pulls you aside and tells you that the hacker techs have been able to perform some last-minute trickery whilst McGowan was ordering his people to return to normal activities. For all intents and purposes, the entire Wild Rovers team are employees of the McGowan organization. You will be receiving a regular salary from McGowan, and he will not know a thing about it. All the entries are invisible. His accountants will never know that they are there. Even if he gets shut down and the proper authorities take over the operation on some sort of front businesses, we'll still keep getting paid. You both laugh at the irony of the situation for a long time. And that's true, you actually do receive a salary after this mission for the rest of the game. It's not huge, but it's better than nothing. Towards the end of the night, Eamon calls for quiet, and an expectant hush falls over the bar patrons. "Friends," he says, "you all know Iceman, and have heard what a wonderful fella he is." There's a roar from the crowd, and you feel yourself blush. You heard that it was himself that did well for Michelin, and fought beside him, using his head to break the feet of his foes. Again the roar, this time accompanied by good-natured laughter. Well, it is my great pleasure to bestow upon Iceman the Order of the Red Branch. The crowd goes ballistic, and you are pushed forward by a wave of hands, patting you upon the back. Flanagan takes you by the arm and instructs you to kneel before him. He takes a huge sword of highly polished steel and places it upon your shoulder, then the other intoning, "I dub thee Sir Iceman, Knight of the Red Branch, Keeper of the Blood of Coquelin, stand and be recognized." The roaring of the crowd is deafening, and you stand and are presented with a small brooch. Looking at it, you see it depicts a goose in flight, surrounded by small three-leafed plants, all set over two crossed swords. Tears mist your eyes, and you feel the arms of your new family embrace you. Next day, Flanagan sees you off at the spaceport. "Don't forget what I told you now," he embraces you warmly. "Stop by every now and then, and I'll probably have a job for you. If you ever get into trouble, just come back here, and we'll take care of you." You smile and tell him that you will, and step aboard your ship. He waves farewell, and before long the stars fill your viewports, and you leave New Ireland behind, for the time being. So So with that, we are officially no longer in the Wild Geese storyline. And if we go over to our Honors tab, we can see that we are a Knight of the Red Branch. And in case you were interested, here are the extras we have on this ship. We don't have any cargo. If we go over here to General, we go down to Income. We are now receiving 750 credits a day. Now, to put it in perspective, a hyperspace jump, if I go and do one now, I believe will take 3 days. And in a slower ship, it can take even longer than that. So if you're not using the... I believe that was 3 days, February 6th, and if we go back. If you're not using the Hypergate network... Oh, this one is 2 days. Alright. But still, it adds up. At least pays for gas. But if you're not using the Hypergate network, which happens instantaneously, it's a nice little boon. I'm certainly not complaining about it. Now, unfortunately, he doesn't actually ever check in with you and have any follow-up missions. That's it for the Wild Geese storyline. But if you intersect with it as part of other storylines, like the Pirate or the Auroran storyline, they remember you. Surprise, surprise. What I don't know and what I want to test, and I'll probably be using this pilot as a generic pilot from this point on, is if you then go into one of the storylines that the Wild Geese storyline doesn't usually intersect with, and that would be the Rebellion, the Federation, the Polaris, or the Velos, and then you come and interact with New Ireland, do they remember that, and is there special dialogue? Because I love finding the special dialogue in this game. And so that's something that we're going to test in these future campaigns. I'll use this one probably for the Polaris storyline. But regardless, that's the Wild Geese storyline. It's a lot of fun. It is, I think, more fun than getting suckered into the Auroran or Pirate storylines. Really, that's just kind of a letdown because, you know, you fail and then it's kind of disappointing because if you didn't want to do those two storylines, then the only option you have is getting an escape pod and essentially resetting your game. But if you want to see how that works, I suggest going and watching my old stream of the Pirate campaign. It's available in YouTube video format on the channel as its own playlist, and we get into that string by doing the Wild Geese storyline and having it fail, so we don't become a Knight of the Red Branch, and instead get ushered into doing the Pirate storyline. But regardless, if you enjoyed this kind of content, go ahead and check out one of our major storyline playlists, or alternatively some of the other side mission storylines here on the channel. And if there's something you liked in particular, please let me know in a comment down below. But regardless of what you end up doing, until next time, I hope you have a good one.